Hello everyone and welcome back for Vlogmas day 24. We're almost at the end. Tomorrow is the giveaway winner, so get excited.
Danny, let's roll. What are you thinking? Pub?
And you know, I feel like there's so much pressure on what video you do for Christmas Eve, you know. And when I posted and asked people if there were any videos they'd like to see from me for Vlogmas, just because I'm like, I don't want to just post shit that nobody wants to see, which is probably what I've done. Aoife from Pretty Purple Polka Dots asked how I celebrate Christmas in Australia. And I was like, oh, that's really adorable. And I sort of decided that I wanted to ask other Aussie booktubers to contribute to this because we would all celebrate in different ways. I thought it would just be fun to see how we all celebrate here in Australia. So yeah, you get to hear from a lot of other Aussie booktubers today to hear about how they celebrate Christmas. So thank you to everyone who contributed. All of these lovely people and their channels will be linked down below. So I hope you enjoy hearing about how we Aussie booktubers celebrate Christmas.
Hi Meredith, Merry Christmas. You wanted to know about what I do for Christmas. So I don't feel like I do anything particularly special. After we've had breakfast, all of us will sit around the Christmas tree and we usually designate one person in our family to hand out all of the gifts. It used to be me because I was the youngest, but since my brother has come back from the UK, it is now his job because he's like the newest around here. So someone will hand out all of the presents to everyone and then we'll sit for an hour unwrapping presents, having coffee, having a fun time, and then we'll usually clean up all of the mess because ooh, it's such a big mess, and we give all of the wrapping paper that is like strewn everywhere, we give it to my dad because then he has the time of his life. He makes sure every piece of wrapping paper is flat. He gets off each individual piece of sticky tape, puts that in a separate bowl. Then he'll fold up all of the wrapping paper. If it's still good to use, he'll put them in a separate pile. But then if it's just little bits of wrapping paper, he'll scrunch them into a ball in another pile. And he has all these little piles that go into like different bins or other sections. And he has a great time. That's his favorite part of Christmas. And at lunchtime, my extended family will usually come over to my parents' place and we'll have lunch. It's usually just some like potatoes. My mum does this rice that she always makes and it's like a family favorite. It's so good. So she'll make that. We'll have a bunch of salads and dips and little like side dishes, and usually there is a lot of seafood, particularly prawns, because my family really likes prawns. And there'll also be some meats of some kind, which I don't know what they are because I don't eat them. But we just sit around a really long table in our lounge room and we eat until we can't eat anymore. There's also the bonbons that we will pull out and have fun. We all have to read out the joke because my mother thinks they're hilarious while all the rest of us are just shaking our heads. And then it's always fun in my family to see if any of us can actually fit those crowns on our heads, because we all have big heads or we all just have really curly hair. So like it's whoever can get a crown to sit properly on their head without breaking is like the winner of the day. And then after lunch we usually let the kids run wild. So my mum usually buys all of her grandkids some water guns for Christmas and the kids just have a ball. They have so much fun out in the backyard having water fights, and all the adults just kind of like sit on the back porch and watch them destroy themselves. And it's so much fun. All the adults get very drunk because, you know, we're Australian. But yeah, it's a fun time to be with family. And then after that people will go home, and then usually I collapse into a ball on my bed because socializing. But yeah, that's basically my Christmas. I hope you have a great Christmas and get all the presents that you want and have fun with the people that you want to celebrate with. Thank you so much for including me, and Merry Christmas! Bye!
Hey Mer, thank you for including me in your video. My name's Paige from the channel Pages with Paige, and I want to talk about how I spend my Christmases. So I usually am wearing a very short-sleeved, very comfortable matching pajama set that is shorts and a t-shirt because holy hell, it is usually scorching. My parents live very close to the beach, so we're usually out in a picnic park area near where they live, having a good old time and trying to keep nice and cool. We usually don't have hot meat. It is usually chicken, ham and seafood as the menu, and lots of different salads. My favorite is a noodle salad, which is just like Chinese cabbage, noodles and pine nuts and lots of yummy things. That is just one of my favorites. And then my mum makes my auntie's famous dessert, which is passion fruit, oranges, strawberries with corn churro and sugar syrup, and it's delicious. I absolutely love it. Occasionally we do have pavlovas, whether that be the little mini ones that you make yourself or just eat en masse where we've completely deconstructed it and just having a bucket ton of leftovers. Usually we have quite a lot of fruit, and in the mornings, particularly as a child, my parents would have our stockings filled, and I replicated this for my sister, my partner, her partner and myself last year, where I had stockings filled with presents so we wouldn't wake up our parents prior to 7 AM, but last year we let them sleep until like 9, and so we get to open those and just enjoy whatever in there. And it's lots of little fun things, and then once we've all woken up, we'll usually have a coffee and some breakfast and exchange bigger gifts and just have a good celebration, then chill around doing socializing and just chilling. It is a lot of just calm after the chaos of opening presents, and then we will dive into lunch. And because it's all cold meats, it's super easy to go out. There's very little prep involved, so usually it's just super chill and very nice. I used to be the kind of person that would set the Christmas tree up on like the 1st of November. I haven't done that for the past couple of years just because, but I do definitely put it up quite early into December and just have a lot of fun getting in the festive spirit. I usually at work will wear lots of Christmas shirts in the lead up, and I find Christmas a very fun time that is usually surrounded by my family. And the year that my parents were in lockdown due to COVID, I got to spend it with Ash's family, and I'm keen for us to create new traditions in future years, as my parents will be coming up and visiting me more years than not, so we can just combine all the families together and start new traditions as a big collective group. So yeah, that's my Christmas. It's usually pretty chill, but I have a lot of fun, and I love spending time with my family and being able to see them. Usually because I do have time off over the break, I will also try and see some of my friends and exchange lots of books. And we always do Christmas crackers. That is a given, and we have to wear the hats till at least the end of lunch. Then my dad usually cracks the shits and we'll take his off. Thank you so much for involving me. I can't wait to hear how everyone else spends their Christmas. I really love the idea of this video, and thank you for being so amazing. Mwah!
Hi, it's Zoe from Book Reviews with Zoe, and I was invited by Reading with Merb to do a little clip for one of her VLOGMAS videos about my Aussie Christmas. My Aussie Christmas is generally, we generally eat outside because it's bloody hot generally. Also we usually have seafood or cold ham, cold turkey, those sort of things, and we usually have sort of a mixture Christmas where my family and my brother's partner's family, we all come together on Christmas Day and have like a Christmas lunch that's a fusion of all the families together. So we generally have a lot of fun, and if we're near the water we go for a swim. So that is Christmas for us. It's usually hot or bushfires, depending on what we get. So yeah, thanks for letting me do this video. See ya.
I honestly have a lot of trouble imagining a cold Christmas.
I haven't actually gone swimming in like 15 years, but I grew up in a beach town, so going for a swim is like such a quintessential Christmas thing for me. I think for almost a decade now, we've been hosting a Christmas lunch for our friends and partners. For a lot of people, especially like queer and polyamorous folks, Christmas with biological family can be kind of fraught. Our Shitsgram crew basically just like huddle around the aircon, watch the Muppet Christmas Carol, eat charcuterie, that sort of stuff every year. I also always make a very brandy soaked Christmas pud. I cook it like in the pudding basin, but like the pudding basin goes inside the slow cooker. You gotta have Christmas pud. We concentrate on a lot of foods that we can make ahead of time because it's usually like way too hot to be in the kitchen with the oven on for very long on the actual day. And that's what Christmas looks like for me in Queensland, Australia.
Hello everyone, Merry Christmas, hope you have a great new year. So I celebrate Christmas kind of, it's more, I do celebrate it, but having said that, I do work in retail, so anyone who works in retail knows that it can be, Christmas is the time of year you just go, But yeah, mostly I just spend whatever time I have off at home. We definitely tone it down a lot more than we used to when I was younger. Now we just like, who wants to meet up Christmas or Boxing Day or even New Year's, and then we just have a little get together with more close family and just talk really. So yeah, real exciting Christmas for me, but yes, that's how I celebrate Christmas. Hope you guys all have a wonderful Christmas and New Year, and I shall see you in the new year. Thanks, Meredith.
Hi everyone, hi Meredith. Thank you so much for asking me to be a part of this video. So I believe that you wanted me to share some of my Christmas memories and what Christmas is like for me here in Australia. So at the moment I live in Tasmania, but I grew up in the inner west suburbs of Sydney. So Christmas is hot, of course, here in Australia, but it was particularly warm, not like Queensland, but particularly warm in the inner west suburbs of Sydney when I was a kid. And yet we did seem to do the sort of traditional English Christmas dinner. When I was a kid, we always had the big baked turkey, all the baked potatoes, all the baked sides, all of the boiled pudding, all of that stuff. And I remember it being really, really hot and eating this really, really hot meal. I still remember really enjoying it. My family were always gathered somewhere. Oftentimes my mum's mum, but I was included as well, but it was always my dad's family. So my two sisters and myself and my parents, and then my dad's sister and my dad's brother and his wife, and then my grandparents, and oftentimes my grandmother from my mum's side as well. We would all gather at someone's house. For a while it was pretty much always my grandparents' house, but then it started alternating between our house and my grandparents' house. So Christmas always involved the obligatory drive somewhere or wait till family got there. And we would have the big meal. We would eat until we were all like ridiculously full, and usually that was main meal. And then kind of just lounge around and chat, and the adults would drink. In the afternoon we'd always have a family cricket game. Depending on where we were, it might be down at the park or it would be in my grandparents' back garden. Not everyone got involved. It was always my dad, always my grandfather, always my uncle, and my aunt. I started getting involved when I was pretty young, and my sister, so I'm 2 years older than my next sister and then 10 years older than my youngest sister. So my sister, who's 2 years younger than me, sometimes played, sometimes didn't, and my mum pretty much never played. My grandmother occasionally played, and my aunt, my uncle's wife, would basically always just find somewhere to curl up and read. But I used to play all the time. That was always really fun. We did always have a really great time. I always had a really great time anyway. I think there was a little bit of animosity between my aunt and my grandmother, my aunt by marriage, but that never affected me. I always had a really fun time. So that was what we did when I was a kid. Probably up until I was about 10, it was always the hot Christmas dinner, despite the sweltering heat. And we lived in, like I said, in the inner west suburbs of Sydney, and we didn't have a pool or anything like that, so it was always really hot and way too long drive to go to the beach or anything like that. When I was probably about 9 or 10, my aunt and uncle started having Christmas things at their place, and they had a pool, so we would love going there, usually Boxing Day. I think it was around when I was 10, and I think it was my idea that we stop doing a big family thing on Christmas Day and do it on Boxing Day, because I was like, everyone always goes somewhere else and then has to come, and it's like you don't get a full day with each other, you don't get to do everything you want to do with each other, and you don't get, and everyone's, you know, rushing around and stressed. And so I was kind of like, let's do a Boxing Day thing. I feel like it was my idea, but maybe it wasn't. I don't know, but anyway, that's what we started doing when I was about 10. And so oftentimes it would be at my aunt and uncle's place in the northern suburbs of Sydney, and they had a pool, so we'd often go there, and that was really fun. And that's when it turned into a barbecue, which is much more befitting for the weather. So people would bring salads, people would bring stuff to go on the barbecue, and we'd hang out outside and eat barbecue stuff. And you wouldn't heat the whole house up because you'd be cooking outside, because you'd be cooking on the barbecue, and then you'd have salads. So it was really only the meat or meat type products that you'd have to cook, and that would be warm. So that was much more fitting for the type of weather we were having, and I think that made everyone else feel better. Like I said, never really affected me very much. Like, I think it's more that I remember my mum like kind of complaining about how hot the house would get when she'd have to cook this big roast turkey, and then loving it when we weren't cooking big roast turkeys anymore, and having salads and feeling like that made more sense to her, being as how she was brought up in Australia, whereas my father was brought up in England. My grandfather is British, so yeah, it was kind of a tradition from their family, from the English side of the family. But we always had the cricket game, and that's something that's still continued. So now my family lives in different parts of Australia, and we don't necessarily see each other over Christmas. But when we do, we always have to have the cricket game. It's always a component of Christmas. Of course, there's always presents, and my mum is still very much a fan of pudding and Christmas cake, so we do always do the pudding. She usually makes it a few days in advance in the evening, so it's not making the house really hot. But that's less of a problem in Tassie, because Tasmania is a lot colder than the rest of the country. Well, not the mountainous areas. The mainland is a continent, so, you know, it has snowy mountains and deserts and all the things, but as a general, we are a lot lower further south, so we're a lot more cool. But yeah, it's more likely to be a barbecue with some salads and stuff like that. And just family, just hanging out, chatting, having some drinks, giving presents, all that stuff, playing cricket. Yeah, so that's kind of my family tradition for Christmas. Not really sure what we're doing with this year. We haven't talked about it. Rowan and I haven't talked about it, and no one else has talked about it yet, but it is still only just, I'm filming this on the 31st of October, so I've got a month and a bit to figure that out. But anyway, yeah, like I said, thanks so much for asking me to be part of this video, and I'll talk to you soon.
Lastly, you get to hear how this massive bogan celebrates Christmas. So for me, it has changed obviously over the years. You know, the way that my family and I celebrate Christmas when we were kids is quite different from how we celebrate Christmas now. And this Christmas is super exciting actually, because it's the very first Christmas where one of my siblings has had a baby. So it's the first time my parents will be grandparents. It's the first time my sister's going to be a mother. It's the first time that my sister and I are going to be like aunts to, you know, a baby in our family. So it's super, super exciting. It's definitely going to be a little bit different this year. I don't know what our plans are yet, but I know that however we celebrate this year is going to be extra special because it's the first time for so many of us. And it's going to be so much fun just like seeing a little baby around, and she's adorable. So I guess I'll just say what we did in the last few years, because again, I feel like this Christmas is going to be a little bit different. But how we generally have celebrated Christmas over the last few years is that me and my sisters get up super early and we get like a little sack of presents, and then we hang around and let our parents sleep in, and they get up. We usually have breakfast together, and then we open our presents from each other. We generally do this thing where we let each person open their present themselves. So, you know, someone will hand out the presents and we'll watch everybody open their presents one after the other. We usually take it in turns. So that's just how we've always done it. It's super fun, especially because I like to psychoanalyze people opening my presents to be like, do they actually like it? And they better fucking like it. We'd usually go to my grandma's, but for the last few years we have had it at our house, and my dad will go and pick up my grandma and my uncle and they'll come over. Unfortunately, these last few years I've had to work in the afternoon, so my Christmas kind of gets cut off instantly after lunch. I have to rush off, I have to have dessert by myself, and I have to rush off and go to work, which kind of sucks. This year I'm working in the morning, I believe, so I'm not really sure how that's gonna work. I don't know what hours I'm working. I don't know if I finished 11 or 3 o'clock, so it's going to be weird to see how Christmas is going to work this year. But either way, I'm excited. Of course, I'm now with Liam, so there is another element of Christmas with him. We usually spend time with his siblings on Christmas Eve. And yeah, generally my Christmases are pretty chill. We just open presents and eat lots of food and just spend time together, which is what it's all about. So yeah, we don't really do anything super special. We usually have like a roast lunch. That's my Christmas. And thank you to everybody who contributed to the video. I really hope you enjoyed hearing about how we all celebrate our Christmases. I'd love to know in the comments how you celebrate your Christmases. It's definitely fun to sort of see what people get up to, how they, you know, celebrate this very special day. That is going to do it. So thank you so much for being here. I really hope you enjoyed. And I cannot wait to see you for Vlogmas day 25 tomorrow for the giveaway winner announcement. Thank you for being on this journey with me, and I hope you all have a lovely Christmas tomorrow. And if you don't celebrate Christmas, I hope you still have a lovely day. I hope just in general it's a good day no matter what you're doing. So yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for being here. Bye!
Although it's been said many times, many ways, Merry Christmas.